Hello and welcome back to In the Corner. I'm Cash, and today we've got a pretty fun episode lined up. Episode 63. Uh, Really good weekend of fights coming up. Nothing too crazy, but just some solid fights out there, some solid cards. But what I want to start off with today's episode is talking about what happened this morning, which is arguably probably the biggest boxing fight of the weekend, and that was Brian Norman Jr. brutally knocking out Jin Sasaki in the fifth round of their WBO welterweight title fight. This was this morning in Japan, and I've had my doubts about Brian Norman in the past. Obviously there was that Janelle Sambuca fight a couple of really a year and a half ago now, not even, and he just looked horrible in that. He was on his way to potentially getting stopped even. I think he got hurt a few times in that fight. And, since then he goes in the Giovanni Santillan fight, something that we all thought he was going to lose. Beats him up, stops him brutally. Then he goes into the whole Boots saga where Boots tried to fight him and he pretty much ducked him. And then it's, his stock's real low. He was an interim champion. Then he gets elevated to a full champion. It's like, how much of the world champion is this guy? He takes the Cuevas fight, which is a fight nobody really asked for. Does really quick work of him. Looks great. And then it's a Sasaki fight where it's like, okay, this is his real test as a champion. And he looked phenomenal. I thought that he was completely dominant while being in first gear the whole time. Dropped Sasaki twice in the first round. And by the way, if you've seen both these guys fight before, you knew Norman's probably going to win this. Sasaki is very fun to watch, but he does not have the biggest ceiling in that he's not the most sound fighter. He throws a lot and and he's powerful. But he really just throws all these wild shots and his footwork's all over the place. He's always stepping over himself and just trying to land a huge shot. And for a guy like Norman who has a ton of power but also has that, pedigree, he was able to outbox him pretty easily and outgun him where he was barely even trying in there. Like seriously, this looks like a terrible mismatch. Norman won every round dominantly. Sasaki should not have been let into the fifth round. He was getting beaten up so bad. He got dropped twice in the first round, which I was shocked he made it out of. And then you get into the fifth round, and Norman just lands an incredible shot that just sends ripples all through Sasaki, puts him down, and he bangs his head on the canvas. Now, this is definitely in the running for KO of the year. That probably is the KO of the year at the moment. I can't think of anything else on the top of my head. I'm sure if I look through, once we get to the end of the year, there'll be lots of stuff that, oh yeah, that one was pretty good. But right now, this has to be somewhere near the top of that list because it was incredible. Just your mouth dropped and it was scary. And I was thinking, I was like, there's going to be some kind of bad effect from this. There is, unfortunately. Apparently, Jin Sasaki woke up this morning because, again, that was last night in Japan, even though it was still today here in the United States. It was about 12 hours ago. Sasaki has woken up this morning and has no memory of the past 6 weeks. Really, really scary stuff. And apparently his team is saying that he already didn't remember the past 6 weeks going into the fight. And they don't know why the world title fight, was happening. And I'm like, what? What do you mean he didn't know that? I have to think that that's a misinformed or confused statement because there's no way that they would that had no memory of the past 6 weeks of his life and he went into a fight. There's no way they let that happen. Absolutely no way. I think that's them just trying to say, oh no, that was already a thing, but no, this is really bad. This is really bad. I hope that he's okay. I hope there's no long-term damage from this. But yeah, man, I mean, you don't play boxing. That was really scary. I mean, props to Brian Norman Jr. Fantastic performance. He really is at the top of the welterweight division now. I mean, Boots is moving up. He's now announced it, so you've got Norman up there and Barrios as the only two champions. I guess you can now, Rolly is probably now going to be a super champion, so you do have Rolly there. You've got guys like, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia in the weight class, Teofimo Lopez potentially coming into the weight class, a ton of other names. And, but Norman has a world title, and he doesn't have the highest profile, but his performances speak for themselves. I can't wait to see what he does next. I'm an Atlanta guy. I would love if they could get him his next fight as a hometown defense, an ATL. That would be awesome. I would totally go to it. We'll see if they do that. I think it's more likely now because after this fight, I would have said, all right, if Boots had still been at 147, it would have been very clear, make the Boots versus Norman fight. Obviously, Boots is now moving up to 154, so the question is, what next for Norman? I think there's a lot of stuff we could see him in. You know, you've got Echo Esserman there, which is a phenomenal fight, and he deserves it. He's probably going to get a big fight soon and get another one after the Josh Taylor win. You've got Alexis Rocha sitting at the top of the rankings. Personally, I don't think that he's earned that title shot yet with his draw to Raul Curiel, and I think only one win before, or no, two wins before that. Since the Giovanni Santillon loss, I'd like to see him get one more big win before we see him get a world title shot, but I'd be okay with that. The one that I think is honestly the most likely as of right now is a defense against Rohan Polanco. I don't know if they want to push Polanco that far, but he's about to have a fight, I believe, on the July 26th card. If he gets through that, we could really see him challenge for the world title. They've been kind of building that up a little bit. Polanco's been saying he wants it. I think he sits at number 7 in the WBO rankings. And Top Rank really does like to make those in-house fights. That's how they do a lot of their fights with their prospects, is they elevate them. All right, you want to fight for a belt? We're going to do it too early, and you're just going to fight one of our in-house champions. And then it's a fight, for example, Manuel Navarrete, Charlie Suarez. That was a fight that nobody really wanted to see. And it was kind of like, huh? But, it's easy to make. And it ended up being great, and we're going to see that rematch soon. But, you do this fight, it's going to be Norman Polanco. If that happens, if they go down that route, which is possible. I don't know if it's likely, but it's possible. I would love to see that. I really would. Unifications are there. He could fight the winner of Pacquiao versus Barrios, but I don't know if we see that. If Barrios wins, which he likely will, I guess maybe he'll be like, yeah, I'll do a unification with Norman. That'd be a great fight. Crocker and Donovan are going to fight for the vacant IBF, it seems. And then Rolly is probably going to be your WBA super regular or just normal champion. And that unification is there as well, but I think Rolly's got his eyes on bigger name fights. So we'll see what's next for the WBO champ, but spectacular performance. Moving on from that, let's go ahead and preview this weekend's action. Probably the biggest card of the weekend, UFC in Baku, Azerbaijan, and man, it's a good one. It really is. Jamahal Hill returns against Khalil Rountree. Both these guys coming off losses. Hill obviously losing to Yuri Prochazka and Alex Pereira before that, and Khalil Rountree coming off his fantastic fight with Alex Pereira. This is a really big test for Jamahal Hill. I mean, he's not been in the best form lately, at all. His last win came in January of 2023, so it's been 2.5 years since he won a fight. Rountree, again, he too has not really, let me see what the last time he won a fight was. December 2023, so he hasn't won a fight in a year and a half. I do think that, honestly, coming off their last performances, Rountree's in a better space, but I do think that Hill overall has been the better fighter in his career. So it's a tough one to call. Looking at the odds, Rountree is a small favorite. I think I may lean Rountree just because I really just haven't seen a lot from Jamahal Hill. He just looked so bad in his last couple of fights, and Rountree looked really great against Pereira. So I'm going to go with Rountree, but we'll see. It's a tremendous fight. Co-main event's awesome. Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Fiziev fought really, really well in the fight against Justin Gaethje, and Bahamondes getting his shot against a ranked fighter. Just a really fun fight. I would have to lean the way of Fiziev on that one, but I kind of think Bahamondes may take it. He just had his tremendous knockout a few weeks ago. So I'm not sure. I'm going to sit on the fence on that one. Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. That's a good one. Again, this is just so weird. Blades is 5 in the heavyweight rankings. He's fighting someone who's unranked. Really weird. Hopefully he can win that one when he's so close to a title shot with that ranking, but just really weird. Oralbai, cannot pronounce his first name, but Moralbai returns. He's obviously a fantastic fighter to watch. I'm really excited to see that one. What else you got? Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Mata, another fun fight. Oban Elliott returns to fight Seokian KO. His name is actually KO. That's pretty cool. A lot of tough to pronounce names on this card, but it is a really, really solid card. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tagir Ulanbekov is ranked at flyweight, and he's fighting Azad Maksum on the second fight of the card. That should be higher up, I'd think. But I don't know. It's a solid card, really good fight night. We had a great one in Atlanta last week. I was there. Now to see this one in Azerbaijan. It's just a really good month for the UFC. You've also got Galal Yafai finally returning, this time against Francisco Rodriguez for the WBC Interim Flyweight World Championship. I know Rodriguez is a really, really solid fighter. He's been in there with the best of the best. It fought Junto Nakatani, fought Kazuto Ioka. Obviously, those are his only losses in recent years. He did fight Chocolatito a long time ago. but hasn't really in the past 10 years. His only two losses come to Ioka and Nakatani. The Ioka fight was a world championship. So he's been in really good form. He is a really solid fighter, I think, but Galal Yafai is vastly underrated, I think. I really thought that he would be at a higher place now after the Sonny Edwards win. That's probably overshadowed a little bit by announcing his retirement after. But he looked so incredible in that fight. And, he's an Olympic gold medalist, now an interim world champion. He's looked nothing but stellar in his pro career. I think that he wins this fight. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think that he gets the victory. And then moving on from that, he's going to get to fight the winner of Kenshiro Taraji, Ricardo Sandoval, which is definitely a bigger fight. Taraji versus Yafai is potentially the biggest fight in the division, the best fight. You do have Masamichi Yabuki there as well, Anthony Ellis Kawaga, guys like that. But I would love to see Yafai get a real world title shot against Kenshiro Taraji, who's the number one in the division. Would be tremendous. It'd be fantastic. Co-main event's going to be Peter McGrail versus Ionut Baluta. Obviously, it was meant to be McGrail versus Masood. Masood got injured, and this sucks, but especially because McGrail is coming off another fight where he had to, get a late, short notice replacement. But this is still a solid fight. I just think it's one that McGrail is definitely going to win. And then you've got Kona Walker versus Liam Taylor. Again, this is a fight that it's Kona Walker's British title defense. Nothing against Liam Taylor. I just think that Walker takes it. Always potential for an upset, but Kona Walker is one of my favorite fighters to watch in the UK. He's tremendous. I would have loved to have seen him versus Echo Esseman. Maybe that can still happen, but I think Esseman is past that, British European level now. But yeah, I'm really excited to see that. Pat Brown returns in his second fight against Ivan Duka, who's 5-5, so expect something short there. Other top matchroom prospects: Ibrahim Suleiman, Giorgio Vizioli, Hamza Udin, and you got Aaron Bowen as well, and then Tia May Aiton making her pro debut. So it's a really solid UK card. People like to crap on the matchroom cards. I think this is a pretty solid one, so I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun when you get to see guys like Peter McGrail and Kona Walker in the ring, and seeing Galal Yafai return is definitely very exciting. Over in Newark, Top Rank has got a card headlined by Vito Milnicki Jr. returning at the undefeated Kamil Gardzielik. This is a fight that Milnicki is getting his hometown headline fight. I was not expecting them to give him a main event, but here we are. I don't feel like Top Rank has a lot of solid main event fighters right now, if I'm being honest. I feel like they do, but they're not giving it to them. Or at least, they're shifting it around where you got Milnicki and Torres headlining and Abdullah Mason, but, that was obviously a little bit different. But it's just interesting that they're already pushing up a lot of their younger fighters to headlining, when they're not necessarily in meaningful fights. The Torres Vianello one was, but it was still a smaller card. This one, I don't know if there's really any belts on the line even. Maybe there's some regional belt, but I don't know. Milnicki gets through this one. I'd like to see him in a really tough fight. I really did like the Connor Coyle fight. I was hopeful we could get a rematch there. I don't know why, because that was a draw and it shouldn't have been. But I think we all know that Milnicki won that fight, so there's no really real reason to go back to it. But I like to see him get like a world ranked fight after this, like maybe somebody like, honestly, Emma Williams. Maybe not that, but like Troy Isley's another one that you could do. That'd be awesome. But yeah, we'll just see what they do with him. Jahai Tucker, Lorenzo Simpson's on this card. Two, American prospects that have really not been the most impressive as of recent in their pro career. So hopefully they can both get on a good track here and get a good win. I think Tucker probably wins this fight, but we'll just see what happens. Damian Kneba returns against another undefeated heavyweight, Marcin Siwi. That should be a really fun heavyweight fight. Brandon Lee is on this card as well. Against a 22-5 Elias Araujo. I just don't really know what they're doing with his career. This is his 30th fight, and it's an 8-rounder. He's really got to get moving. But, yeah, this is not necessarily a traditional top-rank card. It's in addition with Thomas Lamanna's Rising Star Promotions, which I'm not really too familiar with. But that's why you don't see a lot of the same top-rank prospects on this card. A lot of unknowns, but, I'm excited to see Vito Milnicki back. The Jahai Tucker Lorenzo Simpson fight is really solid. Damian Kaneba's on there. Brandon Lee's on there. It should be decent. Another boxing card this weekend, Callum Walsh returns against Elias Espadas. If you remember, Espadas had he had a draw last time out on another Tom Loeffler card against Sadridan Akhmedov. That was in April. And now he gets a big fight against Callum Walsh. I expect Callum Walsh to get another win here. Espadas is 23-6-1. He has been stopped twice, and Callum Walsh stops most of his opponents very easily. His last KO was incredible. It was a knockout of the year contender. But I think that he'll get through this fight, and hopefully they get him a big fight. He's in 154, which is not the easiest division to survive in, but we'll see. We'll see, man. It's a really really fun one. He's a very fun fighter, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. You got Kane Sandoval returning on this card as well. Umar Zambekov, right hook Roxy. Just some decent California-based prospects, I guess you could say. And yeah, we'll see where they go with that, and we'll see how good Callum Walsh returns. He is staying active, which I do love to see. Okay, uh, PFL has their next card this Friday, so tomorrow. It's going to be, I believe this one's in Wichita, and it's a pretty good one. We've got the semifinals for the lightweight, women's flyweight, and bantamweight divisions. So lightweight main event is going to be Gadzi Rabadana versus Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee stepping in on short notice, of course. And then you've also got Brent Primus versus Alfie Davis. So really nice set of fights there in the lightweight division. We'll just see how they go. Kevin Lee again stepping in on just a few weeks' notice, and I don't know, Rabadanov, I probably have to favor him, but we'll see what they do, how they do in that fight. Liz Carmouche versus Alora Dana is a really, really fun women's flyweight matchup. You've also got Ekaterina Shakalova versus Jenna Bishop. I do remember being impressed by the flyweights when they had their quarterfinals, so hopefully we get some good fights there. And then also in the lightweight, or in the bantamweight division will be Marcirli Alves versus Jake Hadley, and Justin Wetzel versus Mando Gutierrez. And so those are your semifinals for tomorrow night. The last PFL card was really fun, and I'm expecting no different, and excited to see what the finals look like. We've also got this week in BKFC 76. This is their big Texas card. Their Texas debut is meant to be a little bit bigger. Had some changes. Meant to be Tenaglia Soto 2 for the lightweight championship. It's now just Tony Soto versus Ben Bonner. Which is an okay replacement, I guess. Not really familiar with Bonner. Hopefully this is still a good fight. BKFC is always fun to watch. Andrei Arlovsky makes his BKFC debuts, is very anticipated against Josh Copeland. Jessica I versus Maria Agapova. That's a good debut there as well. You've also got the debut of Kenzie Morrison, a heavyweight, as he gets in with Alex Davis. And yeah, it should be a pretty fun BKFC card. It's pretty stacked from what I can see. I mean, again, I'm not really familiar with too many BKFC fighters, but from what I'm hearing, they're trying to make it pretty good, and I don't know, it should be a good one. You've also got David Stevens headlining a Golden Boy card, which with some other promoter. He had a really good fight with Beck the Bully. Or I don't know if I'd say it was a really good, but a really competitive fight with Beck back in November. So, we'll see what he does there. Also want to mention that Jojo Diaz is apparently fighting this weekend as well in an 8-rounder on Saturday against Alexis De La Cruz, who's 9-6-2 in Tijuana. This is really I really don't even know why Jojo's still fighting at this point. He's on like 4 or 5 back-to-back losses, not even against great opposition. He's really going down the opposition ladder. I'm worried it's money is the reason why he's still in this, because I doubt this fight will even be on TV. Maybe it is, but it's not with a good promoter. It's in Mexico. He's fighting a scrub, and I hope he wins at least, but I also hope he doesn't, so that he stops fighting, because his time for retirement is long past. I mean, he needs to retire a while ago. Okay, let's hop into some news, and we got some pretty interesting stuff to talk about. So Canelo vs. Crawford has been confirmed for Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. This is where the Raiders play. I'm really happy they chose this. We don't get enough stadium fights in the United States, and just really excited to see what that looks like. And this is a fight that deserves to be in a stadium. It also deserves to be in Las Vegas, so I'm glad they can make that work and didn't put it in Dallas or something, which I would have been fine with. I just like it, to be in Las Vegas. And first time we're getting a fight in Allegiant Stadium. I know it's a relatively new stadium, but I'm just really excited to see how that one is. Speaking of Canelo Crawford, we're hearing that Bakram Murtazalia versus Josh Kelly could be on the undercard. Bakram saying, he's close to getting a fight, tweeted out September 13th a few days ago. Now we're hearing that he and Josh Kelly, who's ranked number 3 with the IBF, are in negotiations or something like that. And the fight is likely to land on the Canelo Crawford card. That'd be a great fight to put on the undercard there. Gets Murtazalia in front of a lot more eyeballs when he's, a fantastic world champion that doesn't really have a big profile. And Josh Kelly, running towards that big fight. He's had a really interesting career. He just fought the other weekend and had a good first round knockout, but has just kind of been stagnant in his last few fights. And so I'm glad that he got the opportunity. He's like, no, it's time. Let's get in there. Let's get for the world title, and let's get a big fight. And so I'm glad he's taking it, but I do think Backram wins this fight. Backram is just a monster. But I hope that they can make that happen. Unfortunately, Jaime Munguia is also a drug cheat, it seems. His B sample came out adverse as well. Really disappointed because, and they're saying, oh, it's not true and stuff. But look, he was not even he didn't win the first fight. He got stopped. Are you going to tell me that it's not totally believable that Munguia is like, all right, I really need to win this one. I need some extra juice, especially when Eddie Reynoso, all of his fighters have been caught for, drug cheats before. Really, really disappointing. I'm hopeful that there's a decent, suspension on him, like at least a year. But to be honest, I really don't even know at this point. Drug usage and PED usage is just way too common in boxing, and it needs to happen a lot less. But it's just going to keep on happening, and not with the people you expect. So I doubt there will be a huge, consequences for Munguia, but there should be. David Benavidez versus Callum Smith is apparently on the table now. Apparently, Team Benavidez sent an offer to Team Smith for Dallas or Vegas in October. I expect Callum Smith will likely take that fight. It's a big fight for him. It'd be a pay-per-view, big fight in America. I could see this one happening in the UK. Benavidez apparently said that they're open to fighting in the UK. It could be a bigger money fight there just because Callum Smith definitely would bring in more tickets. And not saying that David Benavidez isn't a huge star. He is. But boxing is just bigger in the UK than it is in the US. Excuse me. Nonetheless, it's a pay-per-view over here. It's a big Vegas fight or Dallas. And I just really want to see the fight happen. I'm glad that they're making it. Dana White says the UFC are giving Jon Jones a couple more weeks before they move on from the Tom Aspinall fight. They've given him long enough. Jones also just said that he couldn't care less about fighting right now and walked off the Nelk Boys podcast 15 minutes in when they just brought up Tom Aspinall. Like, dude, come on. Why are we still talking about this guy? Strip him. He's totally making the UFC look like buffoons right now. He hasn't fought in 7 months, and before that he hadn't fought for a year and a half. And the one title defense he's made has been a totally stupid one. He's been refusing to fight the rightful contender. Tom Aspinall has been sitting on his ass for a year. Let him fight for the belt. Leave Jon Jones behind. He's not even the champion. Not really. Oh, it's just so frustrating we're still even talking about this. And he's not going to fight him. He's just not going to. It sucks, but it's just true. Oh, man. Teofimo Lopez says he wants to fight in September or October, and then again in December, January. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Last year, he was talking about, I'm going to fight 4 times this year. And then he fought twice in the first half of the year and seemed like he was on track, and then just said, no, I don't want to fight for the rest of the year, and then didn't fight until May. So I'm glad that he's saying he wants to get back out again. I do like the idea of him fighting in the fall. I wouldn't expect all those to happen. Maybe he fights sometime between September and December, but I don't think he's going to fight twice. I'd love it, but I don't think that he will. I'm not even sure who he fights. We're not even sure what weight class he's going to be in. If he's staying at 140, Richardson Hitchens. If he's going up to 147, maybe Brian Norman. We'll see. Or Devin Haney. He ducked that fight. I don't know. But I do want to see Tio in a big fight because he's coming off a really great win. We're hearing that ESPN and PBC are in talks now. Obviously, Top Rank leaving ESPN at the end of next month. PBC, apparently their Prime Video deal is already ending early, maybe because Prime's not happy with them. Obviously, they've only put on a few events, most of them pay-per-views. I'm curious how well the pay-per-views have sold and how well the non-pay-per-views have been, looking on TV. But looks like that deal has not been as great as they hoped it would be. I think ESPN and PBC could be a good fit. PBC is arguably the biggest American promoter. They would definitely bring in more pay-per-view fights and stars than Top Rank was giving ESPN for the past few years. However, I am not sure of how much, schedule they could give ESPN. Top Rank was putting on 1 to 2 cards a month on ESPN, and PBC puts on, maybe like 6 to 8 cards a year, most of them pay-per-views. I don't know if that's really a good fit for ESPN. I don't know if PBC is able to put on, good monthly programming. I'd like them to, but I just don't know if they can. But who knows? We'll see. I am interested in that deal though, and I'm curious if they'll do that. I know ESPN would like to stay in boxing, and we really need them to because it's vital for the sport to survive. August 2nd, there is going to be a small show with a lot of top-ranked excuse me, not broadcast prospects on them. Chop Chop Gonzalez, Harper Jr., Perla Basildo will all be on this small show in California on August 2nd, the week after the ESPN deal. And no, obviously, why am I talking about this? Why should we care? We're not going to really care about these fights. However, it shows Top Rank does not have something set up for after the ESPN deal ends. We know this because it hasn't been announced yet, but we haven't heard any rumors of anything. They're still looking for one, and this is showing that they're not going to have one for a while. Remember when PBC, when they left Showtime, there was a good 4 months where there was no PBC card until the Prime deal got underway. It takes a minute to set these deals up. And, they're starting to say, okay, look, guys, to their prospects, we're not going to be able to get you guys on one of our cards for a while because we're going to be looking for a TV deal. Let's go get you on these small cards to keep you active. And that's what they're doing. They're keeping them active, which is good, but it just shows we're not going to have a top rank card for at least a couple months. Probably won't have any in August or September. Maybe October, hopefully. I don't even know what they're going to do. I don't know if it's them wanting to stay away from DAZN where everyone else is and them wanting to do multiple TV deals, but it's harder to lock down 3 different TV deals when you only put on 12 events a year. So, I don't know, man. It's weird. I think they should just go to DAZN. I'm sure DAZN would love to take them. And I want all the boxing in the same place because less subscriptions. Chris Eubank Jr. has been ordered to appear in front of the British Boxing Board of Control to explain his use of a sauna to cut weight for the Conor Benn fight. Apparently, using a sauna is illegal within the BBBFC's rules, and he allegedly did that. He didn't even make weight, and they've already fined him $500,000 and fined him another $100,000 before that for the egg. I don't know. I feel like they've done enough, and I don't know. I don't like going back to old fights that have already happened and trying to get in trouble for them. He wasn't able to cut weight, so it doesn't even really matter. They fined $600,000 off this guy already. Just let him be. Oh, man, it's crazy. Richardson Hitchens apparently wants to stay with Eddie Hearn. This is really weird because he didn't say anything bad about Eddie. He just said, "Oh yeah, I'm a free agent now, so hit my line." Essentially, we'll just see what happens next. I don't know why he would publicly announce that on TV. If he was asked after, sure, he would say, "Yeah, I'm a free agent. We'll see what happens." But he says he would love to keep working with Eddie Hearn. But it seems like, "Oh, I'd love to, but we just don't know if that'll happen." I think that he's saying he really likes Eddie and he wants to keep working with him, but if there's a better offer, he'll take it. And that was kind of what it seemed. He's saying, "Hey, free agent, somebody's got money, give it to me." But we'll see. Turkey said that he won't work with Hitchens unless Eddie's involved, so I wonder if that kind of changed Hitchens' mindset because he does want to work with Turkey, I'm sure, and get that payday. Joseph Parker's been given the green light to defend his interim WBO title against Derek Chisora in a trilogy. Man, this is just ridiculous. I mean, I understand Derek Chisora is the IBF mandatory for somehow, and everybody's trying to give him a big fight for his last hurrah, and I don't understand why we can't just do the Dillian White trilogy. That makes a lot more sense, especially with where both those guys are. But I mean, Joseph Parker is the third best heavyweight in the world. He's gonna absolutely kill Derek Chisora. He's already beaten him twice. So like, why are we even talking about this? Obviously, he had the close fight with him first time around, in 2021, and then later that year they rematched and he beat him, in another decently close fight. I understand they're close, but come on, like let's not be silly here. That fight is not close at all today. Parker stops Chisora likely, and I don't really know if I really want to see Chisora get into a fight that dangerous for his last fight. Obviously, it is a little bit of a world title shot, and it would be cool to go out on that for him. I get it, but it's just really really not necessary, and it's not safe to be honest, and it's stupid. That's a stupid fight. Parker should not be fighting Chisora. He should be fighting somebody like Caballero or really Dubois or Usyk. Yeah, I would hate if they did that fight. But who knows, man? Who knows? Um, Other than that, another heavyweight news. We've got an IBF eliminator. It seems between Frank Sanchez and Efe Ajagba, a rematch. At first when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great. That's a great rematch." Sanchez has been looking really good, and Jogba coming off that great performance against Bacoli, and he's gonna get to stay in the rankings for an eliminator, and Bacoli won't. And then I remembered, oh wait, Sanchez just got obliterated by Ajit Caballel. I don't know how I feel about Sanchez getting that close to a title shot. I love the idea of the rematch. I still think it's a close fight. Obviously, Sanchez has already beaten Efe Ajagba a while ago, but it was 4 years ago, but he beat him. pretty widely. So I don't mind them going back for the rematch. Um, I don't know if I feel about Frank Sanchez wins this, he gets a world title shot. I don't know about that, but who knows? I do like the idea of F.A. Ajagba still getting to be in high contention for that title. Vidal Riley apparently turned down an Alloys Jr. fight. Yeah, really, really interesting that he did that. Um, I uh, I don't know. I think that this maybe means that Vidal is ready to move into world level. I'd be kind of surprised if he was going into world level just because it doesn't seem like it's time for that just yet. I feel like he's still got more stuff that he can do at 100 or excuse me, no, not at 200 pounds. In the UK. Alloys is the Commonwealth champion. Vidal is the British champion. That fight makes so much sense to make right now. And it gives Vidal an opportunity to be the A side in a really big fight, in a fight that he probably wins. I don't understand why there's any rush to rush him to being a world champion when this British title fight kind of fell in his lap. Won it, looked fantastic, and now he's like, all right, no, I'm not gonna fight for the British. Maybe I want to go for the European, which I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I'd rather just see him fight Alloys. I feel like that's just such a natural fight to make right now. Don't jump into world level just yet, even though I think that he will become a world champion. Take your time. Get a big fight in the UK now. Defend your British title. But yeah, that's how I feel. UFC, some updates to their events coming up. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov is off. That sucks. That was a really, really solid fight on the 317 main card. They're not looking like they're going to have a ton of fights on it right now just because everything keeps on, everybody keeps on pulling out. But yeah, hopefully they have a decent replacement. Don't think that either of these guys are going to get a replacement fight, but hopefully the main card is still solid. And yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. And hopefully Paulo Costa can get another fight soon, as can Kopylov. Maybe they rebook it for later this year. Really exciting main card for Abu Dhabi fight night. You've got Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee on there. Really, really solid fight for Peter Yan. Actually, it's not. Peter Yan is number 3 ranked. I don't know why he's fighting somebody who's 13. I like the fight. It could be fun, but it really shows that Yan is just kind of sitting on his hands waiting for a big fight. Bryce Mitchell versus Sayed Nurmagomedov. That's a great one. Mitchell moving down to 135 pounds. Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barriault is fantastic at middleweight. Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. This is just a fight night. It's incredible. The co-main event, I didn't even mention that yet. Movsar Evloev versus Aaron Pico. Pico making his UFC debut, one of the most hyped up prospects to come from the PFL, Bellator into the UFC. A lot of guys switching over this year. And, this shows like, wow, he's getting a really top fight. UFC really values him. Evloev is really the mandatory challenger for the UFC belt. He's not going to get it, it seems, just because he's Evloev and he's never gotten a finish. So they want to, prolong him from fighting for the title. Volk is seemingly going to fight Yair Rodriguez next, which, say what you will about it, I think Evloev deserves it more, but I also understand why they don't want to give it to him. And I don't mind this fight at all. We know it was meant to happen in May. And that didn't come through because Movsar was like, I want to wait for the title. It seems like they told him, you're not going to get the title shot, buddy. So now he's going to take it here. It's going to be a 5-round co-main event on a fight night. That's how you know how good this fight is, how good this card is. And so I cannot wait. Obviously, main event, Robert Whittaker versus René de Ritter. Fantastic. Peyton Talbot has been added to UFC 317. He's taking on Felipe Lima. He's actually the underdog in that. Lima, I think, is 14-1, I heard. So really, really good fight there at bantamweight. Talbot was one of the biggest UFC prospects, and then he got taken down by the very tough Raoni Barcelos, who just had a win last weekend over Cody Garbrandt. So it is what it is, but stuff is getting really real, and they're not giving him an easy fight. They want to keep him going tough in these tough matchups. We also had some additions made to the August 16th card in Chicago, headlined by Hamzat and DDP. Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura, a top 15 flyweight bout. Obviously, Asakura coming back after losing the championship to Pantoja. You're also going to have on that card Gerald Meerschaert versus Michael Oleksiejczuk. Decent fight there. Edson Barboza, Durakar Close. King Green returns against Diego Ferreira. Kareem Silva versus JJ Aldrich. Brian Battle, Nursultan, Ruzi Boev. I mean, these are solid fights. Chase Hooper returning against Alexander Hernandez, and then Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez. all really solid fights, just nothing that's really a pay-per-view level. I'm sorry. If those fights were all scattered throughout different fight nights, I'd be like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. But on a pay-per-view, I don't know. I feel like they need more. Obviously, you've also got Jared Cannonier MVP on there. But I would rather have some bigger fights on the card, and who knows, maybe they'll add more. But as of right now, not looking like 319 is the most stacked. Gary Russell Jr. is rumored to return against Giovanni Gonzalez on July 19th. This will obviously be on the undercard of Pacquiao versus Barrios. When was the last time that Gary Russell Jr. fought? I feel like it's been a minute. Um, wow, 2022 when he lost the his world title against Mark Magsayo. Yeah, so it's been a long time. Giovanni Gonzalez obviously just got stopped by Emiliano Vargas, so that should let you know the level he's at. Not saying Vargas is still one of the top prospects in the game, but Gonzalez is in there as tests against prospects right now. Obviously, that's probably the level you need to have Russell come back into, but I don't know. A lot of the fighters like this, I don't understand why you don't just retire after that. He hasn't fought in 3.5 years. We'll see, man. We'll see if he comes back in an 8-rounder and wins it. But I doubt he's got much left. I would just say stay retired because you are retired at that point. Other than that, not much else. Just some funny stuff. Apparently, Will Smith is going to be at the Albert Batragaziev fight against Jazza Dickens next month. Really random. Obviously, Will Smith is getting paid to show up, but it's just so random that Will Smith is going to be at a boxing match. And of all, Albert Batragaziev versus Jazza Dickens in Istanbul, like just crazy. And then lastly, Golden Boys. Jordan Fuentes and Samuel Castellanos will be featuring on the Martinez de Bombay card in Fresno. Really, really good card they're putting together there by ProBox on July 12th. And what was funny about it is that Golden Boy tweeted this and said that they're fighting in the main event and co-main event. They said that Fuentes is headlining, which I'm just like, what? So maybe Golden Boy is going to be streaming these fights on their YouTube or something. So they're going to be, oh yeah, Golden Boy Fight Night, headlined by this. Because they do, when they have like the prelims, they say, oh, the prelims headlined by so-and-so. But yeah, no, I just thought it was funny. They said that making it seem like they're headlining the card. And I'm like, they're on the prelims of a ProBox TV card, not your card. So it's pretty funny. But that's all I've got for today. Yap for a bit. Really fun episode, I thought. Some fun stuff going on. This weekend's fight should be pretty solid. And yeah, probably going to do another episode Sunday, Monday time. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the fights, and peace out.